well, let's start at the beginning then. Could you tell us your name?
My name's Doug Davis.
Doug Davis, and are you from Portsmouth originally?
No, well, I was born in Portsmouth, but I've spent my lifetime in the Northwest School District, which is west of here, northwest of here, about 15 miles.
Did you work in the schools then?
No, I was a school board member, but no, I've just lived there all my life.
And when did you begin volunteering for the Red Cross, and why?
My first experience with the Red Cross, 1997. We had a major flash flood, and my wife and I came down and volunteered. We'd already had some other training that was that would work with the Red Cross training, and so we started immediately running an ERV with hot meals and things to folks in there who were trying to find their houses and trying to find their homes and their lives back.
And just for ERV, would you define that for us?
An ERV is an emergency response vehicle. When I was going to do that, but I didn't want to sound like I knew everything.
Oh. And typically, since we're talking about it really quickly, what an emergency response vehicle, what would that, I have no idea.
Okay, well, we don't have ERVs here. We are trying our best to get one. Like anything else, it's a money woes. But an ERV is an emergency response vehicle normally set up with a kitchen and all the other needs that you might need out on the road to help folk who are a community which is torn apart. And that what we would do, and with the help of the Southern Baptist group who also came, and they just set up their big 18-wheeler trucks and they start making food, and we start getting it to people who don't have electric, don't have water, don't have anything, and keeping them surviving because they won't leave those places. They want to protect them and they want to rebuild, and so you got to go find them. And so an emergency response vehicle is basically a big van-like truck that you offer a little help with.
How does volunteering and contributing make you feel?
Wonderful. What I've told folks is you can't go to bed depressed. It's no matter what work you do for others, you know that when you leave, you feel better than anybody else here. The most selfish things we do and the most unselfish things we do. No matter where you go, you come home and you wind down and you know I've done something to make myself worthwhile for the day.
Let's see. And are there any incidents from disaster relief operations or other Red Cross activities or programs that stick out in your mind?
Yeah. Probably 3 years ago, we had a significant flash flood locally in which the grandmother, the matriarch of the family, was killed. She grabbed her grandchildren and made, I think, 3 trips, no less than 3 trips, saving her grandchildren by crawling along a chain link fence, and then finally she was swept away. And when I arrived, the daughter was there, and to talk to that daughter and to try to say the words that would make her the matriarch in the morning, that would make her understand that she could be proud of Mom. Now make Mom proud of you. And we hugged, we cried, and we talked. And I've always hoped that was a good start for her, because tomorrow was going to be a rough future for a while. And I don't think I'll ever forget that.
Would you recommend that a friend that they should volunteer or contribute to the Red Cross?
I always do, and I have many friends who contribute not only their time, but I've had several who contribute financial help. And my point there has always been that contributing is volunteering. Volunteering is contributing. I can't do anything without their money behind me, and they can have all the money in the world. If we're not out there to do it, it doesn't really matter. So yes, I do, and yes, there hasn't been a day that when I phoned a friend that they didn't come help in one way or the other when I needed it. So yeah, it's we can all help, and we can all feel good, and that doesn't mean we can all get out at 2 o'clock in the morning when we have to.
Well, I know those are the questions that you had. Do you care if I ask you a couple more?
You can ask me anything you like, huh?
All right, and well, since you're a regular volunteer, what is it that you typically do when you come in to help out?
Well, I'm a disaster action team member. I do Pike County. When we have a fire, which is our normal clientele, someone who lost their house and everything they own, and I get there as fast as I can. Normally the fire departments or the sheriff departments will let us know, and then I'm contacted. I go there and assess the situation, and then proceed to see what their needs are. If I can get them 2-3 days in a motel, if that'll get them back on their feet while they try to find where they're going to live afterwards. If I can get them some clothes this time of year, especially with the other expenses, and I've run into several times in this last few weeks where they lost all the new school clothes, and to be able to give what those contributors have handed out, and to get those kids back in school in some new clothes, and slip a toy in there, a stuffed toy in there. That's what I say. No one feels better than you when you leave. It can't be. But I'll take care of that. We have obviously paperwork that now that we're working straight through Cincinnati, that they've been an awful lot of help to us, and it's really been able to spread our wings in the areas where we can help. Other places we'll set up shelters. We'll sometimes it's a flash flood. Biggest thing that folks need is cleaning supplies. So we actually have one of our vans set up with half cleaning supplies and half shelters in it, and we rock and we roll, and try to be there for their needs. We don't offer anybody handouts. It's hand-ups, and sometimes you don't know until later how much it was appreciated or how much it helped. But I think we are lucky to have a CEO here in Miss Arnson, because she's all heart and a workaholic. So I think that's why so many of us stay and keep going, because it's not always fun. It's not always fun to know bad things. But when you know that you're working on the solution, and you're working with people who are behind you, no matter where you are, it's comforting.
What sort of things do you do to prepare and be trained in between?
Well, we have qualifying training that we have to have. We have to have shelter training, first aid training. Oh, gee, I have a whole stack of little plastic cards that has all the training, but pretty much what we don't go into like EMT work. We need first aid stuff, and we have to be prepared, and I have on-board first aid equipment. But the rest of it is management. When you have 50 folks from a nursing home, and you have to put them in a school overnight, management. There's an action team. They call it an action team for a reason. There's a lot of action. Well, I'm too old and not healthy enough to be all that action, but I can manage sometimes. So it's that type of thought process. But a Red Cross person does whatever a Red Cross person has to do, and sometimes that hat's a different thing. It really is. Sometimes it's looking for their cat after a big fire. Sometimes it's holding her baby for a little while, because she's been standing there holding it all day. It's a pretty great job.
And how did you, oh, you already answered kind of how you got started. You
Well,
mentioned you
I did.
had
I actually got started. And I did, my first work was in 1997, but in 2008, I was searching for some place to be able to give back, pay it forward, whatever word you like to use. And I was lucky enough to meet an old friend who at that time was the disaster relief coordinator at a grocery store, and hadn't seen him in a while. And we chatted. He told me what he was doing, and I said, "Hey, what's that about?" Because the last time I was down there was, 12 years ago. I've been out here but been pretty worthless. And so a friend and I came down, got our training, and it was go. He no longer is he doesn't work here anymore, but he stops by a lot, and we have lunch at least once a month. So, with the help of another person asking for volunteers, I did.
What's your favorite thing to do? Do you enjoy the trainings, or what's the best part of it?
Well, I don't enjoy training. I worked for a government entity for 33 and a half years. I'm trained to death. I'm saturated with training. So, I like the interaction with the folks. I know that I have a lot of palaver, and I know that I can meet them and let them know me in a very short time, and then they know that I'm not from the government and I'm here to help. And I think I know that's the part for me. You can introduce yourself, but letting people know who you are is the quickest way to get to know who they are and know what their needs are. And I love that part.
Do you ever get to cross paths with people you've worked with, or
clients? Are you talking about clients? No, I don't. I have one client's daughter whom I've never met, and she calls me for moral support about every 2 or 3 months, because he had continuing problems with some other issues, and I won't go into them, but sometimes she has to call me and say, what do I do now? But no, I don't, and I'm rather glad I don't, because most folk, I would think, they know we went out of our way, and they really don't want to have to thank me again. They thanked me, and nobody else thanked me anyhow. So I haven't had that, and I'm kind of glad. Yeah.
Well, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think I really should have?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
First of all, you're pretty good at getting to the meat of things. I don't think so. I think the thing I would like to tell folk, as a volunteer and to encourage volunteerism, is, first of all, it's not going to kill you. I'm 24/7 in Pike County. I'm the one they call for Pike County. Normally we have groups. If you're a 12-hour shift, you're only Wednesday from 5 to 5 or something like that. So we don't ask a lot from you. We ask that when you go out there on the job, you know that you're there in our name, doing hopefully what we need to do, understanding that every dime we use is a dime someone had to ask for, and volunteers should know in the big things like Hurricane Sandy. You may hear negatives about the Red Cross, but that's because those folk are really in traumatic situations. The Red Cross did an excellent job with Hurricane Sandy. We know that. The list is there. When you look at it, you say, my. This small community regional chapter sent 11 folk. Per capita, that's much greater than our nearest Cincinnati neighbor. People who only wanted to help. you watch the news, you hear, oh gee, the Red Cross gave me a blanket that was too small and a cot that was too short. Well, the Red Cross gave him a blanket and the Red Cross gave him a cot, and the Red Cross fed him. And I heard them complain about the meals too, but they got a meal. So we won't always please, but we'll go out tomorrow just like we did. and I want people to be, especially in a world of financial hardship, I want people to really look at volunteerism, understanding that absolutely positively the volunteer gets more worth from it than any other folk. That's pretty much all I'd like to add to that.
Well, you mentioned kind of the attitudes from these particular victims. Locally, have you seen what would be the average person's response to finding out?
I have never, ever run into an attitude. Never. The floods we've had here, the electric out for a week. There were people who are told that we're going to hand them out a generator and come start it for them and keep the gas running, But I've never run into someone who was dissatisfied after we had done our best to help them. I've certainly run into people who think you got to get there now. And now sometimes when you've got 100, now's not when it's going to happen. But as far as our service, as far as what we can do, I know that, and I've done about 50 single-family fires, 60 now, and all the other floods and tornadoes and activities around here. And I know from other folk how appreciative the local folk have been about that. So that's what I say. You'll always get from the news, they're in charge of bad news. Good news doesn't spread like wildfire. But it's not that. It's a good situation. We are better as a chapter now than we've ever been, and we're demanding to be even better than that of ourselves. So it's working.
So you've been involved with this particular chapter since 2008, heavily involved.
2009, I went on 24/7. Yeah, first of 2009, like March, I believe.
What sort of changes have you seen, just within the Red Cross or even in the community you work with?
All right. Well, as far as the Red Cross goes, Terry Duncan worked here before. He was the disaster action team. Tremendous individual. Now we have Eli Allen, a very sharp young man, doing an excellent job. So, but certainly their personalities are totally different, and love them both. Would work for either one of them. Walk right into fire with them, sure as the world. Both of them very, very concerned, and both of them very, very different. I've had the fortune in working with Miss Arnson not to have to mess with bureaucracy. But really, since Gail McGovern took over the whole thing, the Red Cross itself, we've had amazing good changes. The lady's doing a great job, and it's sifting down. I've had the opportunity to meet the National Red Cross folk here, the Regional Red Cross folk here, and they want to hear from little old me, and they listen, and things happen. So I've seen a continuity and a communications that has been terrific. Now locally, I would love to see our communications better, and I don't go on fault-finding missions, but if I did, I'm not sure that's our fault. Balls can be dropped in all other places, and people are very, very busy and very, very short-handed. So sometimes you really don't know where it got dropped, but it should have been better. Now our action teams, our emergency management, both Sauda, Pike County, I'm sure Jackson's the same way, but I don't know much about Jackson. well, they're terrific. They're terrific. Sheriff's Department's working with us. Fire Department's working with us. Fire Department's, my goodness, the most unbelievable people God ever put on this earth. Most wonderful people God ever put on this earth are volunteer fire departments. You may have seen it in Sandy Hook Friday. These volunteer fire department kids show up, and they're kids to me. They're babies, and they had to do what they had to do. Well, there are occasions every year where these young men who live around here, work around here, Doug doesn't have to do that. They have to go in and find the body or try to save someone that you're probably not going to save. I can't say enough about volunteer fire departments, and they love us. They do. They want us there. They when I show up, I am respected. They'll tell me who I need to see, where the folk are, the clients, because normally they're sitting in a car or over at mom's or down at the neighbors. Fire departments treat me with more respect than I could ever ask, and obviously I try to do the same. But the same way goes with the EMAs and the local sheriff departments. We have a great coordination and a great friendship with those folk. So locally, I think we're good. I think we're getting better nationally. Regionally, that's kind of, I really don't have the answers or I don't know where the trickle down and how good that trickle down is, because I don't work with it. But it's a good solid program, and between Gil McGovern and Mary Arnson, we're going to be there tonight, so it works.
You mentioned Sandy Hook Elementary. Do you think that event will affect how will make a change in the Red Cross, either with training or anything like that?
Well, we do have people there. I'm sure you're aware. Red Cross is there at Sandy Hook. They were there as of Saturday, handling everything from the psychology programs and I really don't know all of them. I did listen to the Red Cross lady there, and they were doing everything, as I said before. You have to assess the need and stay out of the way. And staying out of the way is a big deal too. They don't need to see Red Cross truck. They need to see a lunch to a bunch of firemen or a bunch of TRTs who are there. One of the things that we go to is drug eradication things, search and rescue. Well, when you got 45 guys out in the woods where they're putting out a brush fire, chopping up somebody's marijuana, or looking for a lost child, those folk have to be fed and watered, and that's where we come in. I think that's what's going on at Sandy Hook. I hope that, and I feel like, especially with Gil McGovern, that it will filter down now more, and perhaps we'll even have some educational programs that we can get out to the schools in who we are, what we'll be when it hits the fan, and what you can expect. I think we'll probably all look now at available counseling and where we can do that. Obviously, this is evil at its worst, horrific, but I'm not sure we can call them isolated incidents anymore. So then that means we'll have to prepare, and part of preparation is finding the targets that create the situation, and whether that's video games or red shoes. The point being, you have to find the targets to begin to eradicate the mental thoughts that would take a child to go in and kill a bunch of children and a bunch of teachers. Almost all of these mass murders have been done by children. So it's not It's not your camoed a dude who has 47 guns and member of a militia. It's a kid who stole his mom's gun and went in and killed a lot of them. We need to weep for them, but we must weep for ourselves if we don't begin to search through the mentality of what America is and begin to change our ways. And with me, I got a Red Cross shirt on, so I probably shouldn't say it, but to me it's about a God. And it's about time somebody said it. It's about a God. There has to be a greater power than you, especially when you're 15 and you've got a gun. There has to be a greater power than you. So let's hope the Red Cross and others can begin to pick these kids up and put them in their hands. If it can't be done in the mentality of the world, in the diffusion of the family, then let's do it, because somebody has to. And we better get started. I don't think this is a wake-up call. I think this is now it's a disease now. If you didn't think it was in Columbine, you have to say too many of them too often. And I might as well tell you, it isn't about guns. I think if there wasn't a gun in this world, that kid would have went in with a ball bat. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That you can make killing easier with equipment like that. But it's the killing you got to stop. And I'm not sure we have a strength of spirit in America to do that. So I go out and try to be a strength of spirit in my little mini world, and I bet you do too. We are here because we are doing our best to be part of the solution. You and I, Mary Arnson, Eli Allen, and all the other folk who are out there every day. So we know when it comes to things like this, we're probably not part of the problem. You know, you have to get to the folk who are dismissive of being part of the problem. Not to point a finger, but to begin to modify behavior, because that's what we're talking about. If I have to modify a child's behavior by modifying mom's behavior, then let me sit down and talk to mom and modify that behavior. Mom, I'm not saying it's your fault, but Mom, what can you do to fix it? You can do this. Teacher, what can you do to fix it? Do this. And teachers have never been more valuable and had less control. More needed and less appreciated. So we need to get to the gist of things and begin to, and I hate to say it and reiterate it again, but modify behavior so that we can regrow the type of spiritual human beings in America that don't have to be told, don't go kill anybody today. I wish them a lot of luck. I do. If not, you know and I know, America cannot survive in a continuing decline of the moral fabric and the loss of family.
So you mentioned that you were very much in favor of becoming volunteer. What could an average person be able to do? Because, I mean, typically people aren't going to have training in terms of emergency response and things like that, but for an average person, what could somebody jump in and be able to help with?
Well, if you're talking about a non-Red Cross person, because our things are, you will have the training before you go out there, you know, so that's the way that goes. But, you know, I've had I've had many friends who aren't full-fledged Red Cross, but they're there anytime Doug needs them. Sometimes that's just, I just left one place and you got to drive me to the next. You know, sometimes it is. It's the wheels. You get me there. I know the paperwork, but I'm wore out. Sometimes it's doing nothing more than to direct traffic, and I'm not really talking about the car traffic, but when you come to a situation and you're there for an hour or two, because it takes that just to assess the needs and fill out the papers, and there'll be everybody and his brother shows up, and there is no coordinator of events. You have the sheriff deputy, and he's got a job, and the fire department captain, he's got a job, and the Red Cross guy, he's got a job. So sometimes just an awareness. If you're in a situation like that, first of all, the best thing is stand back and look and see if it needs you. If it doesn't, don't go there. If you know who you are and you know you'll benefit the situation, then get there, and then you can begin to help in many management things. And hey, you can hold a hose if nothing else, putting it back on the truck, because these boys just worked their butt off. Now help them get it back on the truck. If they tell you go away, go away. And you see that guy there in his car says he's the insurance adjuster. Tell him where the folks are. You know what I mean? And sometimes that does happen. He's there. And, you know, all he is a guy who assess the situation. Normally doesn't know these families. And first of all, you're tickled to death that he's there as early as he is. But I've seen it happen several times. But it's like anything else. Sometimes get out of the way, lead or follow. And sometimes the best you can do is tell the rest of the crowd, stand back. And if you act like you are in charge of stand back, people will stand back. So you go in and you be the stand back girl. Works like a charm.
Well, let me ask you one more time. Is there anything else? I don't want to cut you off, but is there
Oh
anything
my
I
goodness,
shouldn't-
you've given me more time than I could ever ask for. No, we've done fine. I hope I haven't bored you to tears.
Nah.
Okay, I've had a good time talking to you.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Okay.